Good afternoon, Carmen Constantin from the Institute for Power Studies and Design in Romania. Questions is Concerto and Civita's previous experience and condition to apply now for the Smart Cities project, or yes or not? This is the question. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Christian Van Paris. I am most probably the most little SME here. We are 5. And on top of that, we are an ICT company. We are developing solutions to make meters smart. And at that point of view, I like to introduce, or have a chance to introduce the project to Mr. Benjen about distribution grid. But how an SME like ours is enabled to submit a project? That's my question.
Well, do cities need to have previous experience, for example, in Civitas? Certainly, no, in Concerto, which is what I have experience with. No, certainly not. I mean, we have a phenomenon here that we have in several generations of calls, many cities who participate in several generations, and we would also wish that there was a broader geographical distribution of participants. And for example, you may know that in the evaluation there are 3 categories: scientific excellence, management, and impact. And I think that a city that can find solutions for cities that have not yet participated, and there are many, would have a high score, could have potentially a high score on impact. But of course you need to sort of demonstrate that you can deliver on the ambitious objectives of the calls. But I think it may even, you may have a special niche there if you can identify solutions for well, many cities in many European regions which have not yet really been part of it and overcome the barriers that are there. Henriette, do you want to add on the Civitas experience?
I think this is smart cities is such a new converging area that we should be as open as possible. And maybe a hint to the gentleman from the SME. From the transport side, we have, I mentioned this SME fund, and a similar fund is also in all the other societal challenges. So this is a fund that is dedicated to SMEs, the high-tech SMEs that are innovating. And maybe that is something that is without constraints of a topic, and just go for it.
Okay, there was a second question on SME engagement.
I believe that Henriette has already answered 2/3 of the question. Yes, there is a specific topic for SMEs in Horizon 2020, which is not specific for transport or for energy. You can easily submit there. It is an open call and it's very simple and very easy to submit there. Having said this, I believe that as an SME, you have on the one side an interest to develop your product. On the other side, you also have an interest in selling products if you want to survive. And probably the very best customers for you is not the Commission directly, but the people here in this room here who need your service if they want to succeed a project with us. So the best thing to do is to sell your services during lunch break to as much people as possible. And if you get too many customers, maybe you will be 500 and you will not be an SME anymore. I wish you good luck.
Thank you. Thank you. You've already
started. Sorry, I would like to add on that. If you have specific questions, you can always have a bilateral.
My name is Jacob Moniki from the European Chemical Council. I have a question regarding what Alexander said about the near zero energy target, and insisted that it has to be near zero. Now, when you are talking about refurbishment of buildings, renovation, do you think it's realistic to reach a near zero energy target?
It is realistic because I have seen it in projects. I mean, I have seen projects not only going to zero, but even being energy positive. So, in refurbishment of buildings, I don't say that all the projects that are apply are like this, but it happens that there are projects. We have proposals going to this extent. And I was quite careful not to give specific limits, but I mean something that ranges around 50 or 60 kilowatts per square meter per year might be seen to be logical, and it is achievable.
How do you foresee the relation between local authorities and industry participants or companies within the consortium?
ICT part is very simple. We don't want you to have a specific work package on developing separate ICT that's standing alone in the room. A smart city, smart stands for you must be able to have it managed in a very smart way, which means ICT has to be everywhere. And this is for the whole city. And by the way, the same is also true for smart grids. I'll just give you one example. When today you buy a very cheap car, you have more than 1,000 sensors and meters and a very sophisticated computer in the car, even on €10,000 car. If I go to the city in Europe, I don't give names, but has the largest district heating system in the city and delivering huge amounts of heating and also huge amount of share for the heating, they have something like 20 or 30 sensors in their district heating system. I don't call that smart.
I have two questions. Sorry. One, again, on replication, which is still not clear to me. If you want a follower city to replicate inside the lifespan of the project, is 3 to 5 years, and how much replication do you want in the sense of, let's say, Amsterdam is developing something big, and then all the 3 followers replicate, just one, all the other 2 replicate. What is the best case and what is the minimum of replication? Second question is about coordination. Do you see a city coordinate or not? And who do you see as a coordinator of this project?
Whether you would like cities to coordinate or industry to coordinate was one, and the other one around how long projects should actually last and whether the 2-year minimum monitoring period is within or after the actual length of the project. And my final question was, how would the Commission react to a kind of regional approach where you identify one city as the demonstrator and then other cities within that region could join as followers?
Thank you for those 2 questions. So over to the panel.
We had projects of retrofitting of a concrete panel building in Central Europe in those days. And during the negotiation, I insisted on 2 points. That's also what Alex has mentioned very strongly. The retrofitting should take place while the tenants stay living in the building, and of course also participate in all the decision processes so that we don't disrupt the social tissue. I think that's very important for your future projects. And the second condition was that the retrofitting should cost only 1/3 of new construction, where they were crying like hell, totally impossible, 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 but at the end of the day they succeeded. They brought down a retrofitting at cost of around 300, 320 euros per square meter, compared to new construction of anything between 1,100, 1,200, depending on how you build it in Eastern Europe. And by the way, you can find all this information on their internet site called solanova.eu. And it worked, and the energy performance that also relates to a previous question is that realistic. They brought down the energy consumption of far above 200 kilowatt hours, don't remember the number exactly, down to less than 20. So from 200 to 20 is quite impressive, with only 1/3 of the cost of retrofitting. In the year 2000, they had a return of investment of less than 8 years. And in those days, energy was still very, very cheap as compared to today. Now, replication in the whole could have been replicated, the whole of Central and Eastern Europe up to Moscow, where we have more than 100 million citizens living in such buildings. replication, not a second building has replicated. One building stopped, and then they wanted to commission to co-fund every building, starting from East Berlin up to Moscow. Nobody has replicated something where you can really make real good business. I made a very small calculation: how many people, how many apartments, how much energy that means, how much costs. We came to a conclusion that if we would make a program of replicating, of retrofitting 5% of the buildings per year, so there's a 20-year program, that would be a program of 600 billion euro investment with very short-term return on investment. We had zero. This is why in FP7 we have introduced a concept: replication plan must be very convincing, very detailed, and will be part of the evaluation. Now in smart cities, we assume that everybody has learned that hard lesson. We have been less rigid in writing the must in the text, but we will expect you that you do it because it's for your own sake. You want to find a solution where later on you replicate it times 10, times 100 in your city and in other cities. So it's extremely important. And we will brief the experts that they should look very carefully into that section. That's important. And replication means in your city, but everywhere in Europe. Sven.
Well, I would like to answer your question, the monitoring. You asked about the project duration, where I expect that my colleagues will get back to that. But I would like to answer to the question, should the 2 years monitoring be within or without the project? Well, one of the problems that we faced in the Concerto contracts was that it was difficult, very, very difficult to get any monitoring data after the end of the contract. So therefore, we really put it into the call that monitoring at least 2 years should be in the contract. Now, if you can offer extended monitoring, as the call says, longer monitoring would be desirable. Well, let's say there were two competing projects, right? One offering 5 years monitoring in the project and another one offering 2 years in the project and then maybe additional years outside. I think you really have to convincingly demonstrate that there will be resources available also after the end of the contract, that we get the data that we have, that we need, because otherwise it's sort of difficult for the evaluators to believe that there will be this longer monitoring.
I think, Sven, you gave the answer. So probably if we want to build actually this database and exchanges of, let's say, best practice, which is actually the second topic of the call, probably we should have the data coming from the smart cities projects. And it will be, how to say, a very nice thing if we can have the monitoring also after the finishing of the project. So, of course, you will say, do the Commission will pay for such continuation of the monitoring system? I think this is not such a huge cost, but it would be good actually to have all this good practice and these tested solutions reported also afterwards in this common database we would like to establish between the three sectors. Coming to the coordinator question. So who can actually write a good proposal? So as Alex said, should be somebody who is acquainted with our rules, so our specifications. Can be a city, can be an industry, can be also a consultancy, can be a research institute. So should be somebody who should know how to write a proposal, should get the main messages in the proposal. So this is not a condition that should be a city or an industry. So who can write actually good proposals?